Hi, my name's Wendy Carter and I'm the owner of Vision Photography. I've had a lot of people ask me lately what type of lenses I use and what type of equipment I use, and so I am going to go ahead and show you what's in my bag today. So for starters, what I have found that works for me the best is the Tamarack Rolling Bag. I will post a list in the next few days of everything that I'm talking about so you'll know exactly where to find it and how much it is. But I have found that this works best for me because I can fit all of my equipment in it and my laptop fits on top in it. And so when I'm traveling, I have everything right there. I can put it in the overhead bin and I'm not worried if my camera equipment's going to make it or if I am going to have to scramble to rent equipment. So that's really nice. In the outside of the bag, I always carry my cell phone, a clamp, which can come in handy for many things. I have a clipboard that has model release forms, which are very important to have with you if you are intending on using your pictures on your blog or on your Facebook page or anything like that. It's very important that you make sure that they sign a model release for that. I have a fold-up Reflector, and I am not sure exactly which one this one is. It doesn't have a name on it, but it has a gold side and a silver side, and I have always used the silver side. I've had this since I started shooting professionally about 5 years ago. Also, I will keep a bottle of water with me to stay hydrated, and maybe some protein bars or some beef jerky or something like that, especially if you are doing an all-day wedding where you don't have time to sit down and take a break. That's nice to have those kinds of things. On the inside of the bag, I always like to put my laptop right on top here. One, it doesn't fit in this compartment, and two, there's a lot more padding in the outside of this bag, so it's safer for my laptop to sit on top right here. And number three, it's really easy to get through security when you're traveling with your equipment to just open it up and be able to take it out and put it back in. First of all, on top, I have my Black Rapids double holster strap, which goes on like so. And then it has two carabiners on each side that you twist into the bottom of your cameras, and this just makes it really nice. It evenly distributes the weight, so it's a little bit easier on your shoulders and when you're packing around, especially if you are doing long hours such as for a wedding or a fashion shoot or something like that. And I have my 2470 lens, which is my go-to lens, on my D700 Nikon, which I'll show you in just a second, and on my D300S on the other side, and that way I don't have to be switching lenses all the time and slowing me down, so that's really nice to have. Normally when I'm in the studio, I do not keep my cameras on a strap. I move very quickly, and so it's just easier for me to have it just handy, and I pick it up and set it down, which probably is not very safe for my camera, but it's the way that I found that works the best for me. As I said, this is my go-to camera, go-to lens, my D700 Nikon, and my 2470 lens. It is a Nikon lens, and the reason I chose Nikon over Canon, I was a Canon shooter in the beginning, but a friend of mine had a Nikon and I didn't have my camera with me, and tried the Nikon. I loved the way it fit in my hand and where the switches were and how easily it was to manipulate, and so I switched over to Nikon and have not looked back. I also keep deodorant on hand. A package of gum is handy. My mouth usually gets really dry when I'm shooting, so it's a bad habit. I like to have gum. My D300S is my backup camera and my video camera. I normally keep the 7200 lens on there. It's a Sigma, which if I would have had the money at the time, I would have definitely gone with a Nikon lens, although the Sigma was half the price, and so that is the reason why I chose the Nikon or the Sigma lens. And I really haven't noticed a huge difference. I have tried some friends of mine who have the Nikon lens, and not a significant enough difference to make me want to sell this one and buy the Nikon lens. So I also do have the 50mm 1.4. It's, I think I paid maybe $300 for this lens. And the 1.2 is about $2,000, so that's a big difference. I will be honest, I don't use this lens a whole lot, but when I want a more shallow depth of field, it does go to the f1.4, which is really nice to be able to have that. My fourth lens that I carry in my bag is the 14-24 Nikon. And this also is a very pricey lens and had to save up for it. I love this lens. It's great for more creativity. When you want a more artistic shot, this is definitely the one I turn to. And of course, with large groups, when you need a wider angle, it's great to have. I always carry with me a light meter. I know a lot of people say that they've bought them and they never use them, and I will be honest with you, I don't use it 100% of the time, but always when I'm using my speed lights or when I'm using my flashes in the studio, I always test with my light meter. It just makes things quicker and easier, and you don't have to chimp, and it tells you exactly where your settings need to be. And I am one who always likes to get it in the camera right the first time, and it just saves time in the long run, both in post work and when you're shooting, so that's great. I also have a Lower Pro bag, which probably is for a small camera, but I use it for batteries, my rechargeable batteries. And again, I have found a system that works for me. When they're charged, I put them in right side up. When they are empty, I put them in upside down, so that way I know when I'm switching out batteries if they're going to be good or used up. I also have a memory card case, and this one holds 4 memory cards. I usually keep 2 cards in my camera, and then I have 2 backup cards. Also for the D300S, I have an SD card. And one of the ways that I have found that work for me is I label the cards. I don't know if you can see that, but I label them with a number, and when they're full, I put them back in right side up like this, so that I know that that card has images on it and that I do not want to use that card because they have not been uploaded to my computer and the card has not been reformatted. So that saves a lot of headache of maybe having some mistakes happen and have to like if you end up deleting images or something like that, which is never good. I have 2 speed lights. I shoot with the SB600 and the SB800, and I would love to have 2 SB800s, but of course the 600 was about half the price. So again, just a little bit of a savings, and if I'm only using 1 flash, I will always use my SB800, but when I need 2 flashes, I can go to the SB600, and it does a great job too. I use the CyberSync transmitters and CyberSync receivers, and this is a transmitter, this is a receiver, and I've got this rigged to my lights. I've never had misfires or anything like that. They're very reliable and probably one of the cheaper remotes on the market, and so this is what I started with, and because that was what I could afford, and this is what I still use. So I have 2 transmitters and 3 receivers, 2 that I use on my speed lights, and then I can also use them in the studio when I'm shooting in the studio, which actually is my preferred way of shooting. I love to shoot in the studio. In the compartments up here, I keep my transmitters, my stands, which are great for the speed lights, to be able to set them up behind a bride or on a shelf somewhere. So you don't have to have somebody hold them, or you don't have to have a mom hold them, or you don't have to have a stand with you. So that's really nice. I also have extra batteries and make sure that those are charged. I also have a system to where if it's not charged, I just put it in my case, and that way I know if it comes out of the zipper part, it's charged. If it's in the case, it's one that needs to be recharged. I have extra batteries for my transmitters, extra cables in case my batteries don't work, I have the backup for that. I have the Expo Disc, which is probably the best $95 I have ever spent. This will help you with your white balance get perfect color every time. I use it outside. I use it with my flash, even though technically you probably really don't need to use it with a flash. You can set your camera to the flash setting. But I love the color that I get. It definitely makes my post-processing a lot easier. I have camera cleaner in my other compartment, along with swabs to clean my sensor. I do that myself. And then I have plenty of lens cleaners, as well as my camera manual, which I learned from experience it's very important to make sure that you have your camera manual with you. I was at a wedding. It was shortly after I switched over to Nikon and didn't know the camera very well yet, and I'm one who likes to rotate focus points and use each and every focus point and make sure that it's centered on the eye, and all of a sudden my focus points were locked and I didn't know how to fix that. Well, it's really easy, and I had hit the switch right here, which just switch it back and forth, and that's how you do it. But I did not have my manual with me, and it was very frustrating to not be able to move that focus point. So I ended up shooting, you know, lock your focus and reposition for the rest of the day, and that's just not what I'm used to, but that's what I ended up doing. The pictures turned out great, but it's always good to have your manual with you so that you can avoid things like that. And I do have a couple of these lens cleaners laying around, and I always want to make sure that my lens is really clean before I shoot. And that is what I keep typically in my bag. There are a few other things. When I'm traveling for a wedding, I'll usually stick an umbrella and a small stand on there just to have to do some extra fun things when I can, but that's not always an option, so it's not something that I carry with me regularly. But that's what's in my bag on a regular basis, and I hope you check back soon.